Hello all. So tonight I want to talk a little about the budget that's going to be discussed later this evening during the meeting. I don't need to tell you guys because you've been involved in the teacher salary negotiations over this past 5 months. So you know that there has been contention over whether or not to give a cost of living raise to the teachers. Now, I heard recently that we had reached a tentative agreement, and I'm delighted to hear that. But I do think it's important we talk a little bit about how we got there, and that it did take federal mediators in order for us to actually get there. Now, the reasoning this board gave in the public statement they made for not being able to give that raise and meet those teachers at that cost of living was that it would raise taxes and that it would that the salary is actually really competitive when you take into account their benefits. Correct? So I think for me at least, this kind of highlights a little how far removed certain members of this board can be from the middle class community members. I want to give you some very concrete examples of what you're asking of these teachers. So the minimum salary that you proposed was around $42,000 a year. This is approximately $33,500 post-tax dollars a year, okay? Now, as many of you probably know, I have 3 young children. They attend a wonderful daycare here in town, but for the 3 of them to go full-time is $850 a week. So if we have a teacher who, like me, has 3 young children, they will be spending approximately $30,000 for the 36 weeks a year their child needs to attend daycare. With that salary of $33,500 post-tax, this gives them a take-home salary of $3,500 a year. But let's not forget those great benefits. So healthcare insurance for one teacher's family with our plans is $400 a month. So now that's an additional $4,800 a year. We're already at negative $1,300 a year to be employed at our school. We haven't even taken into account the fact that the average teacher has $60,000 in student loans, probably a mortgage, insurance, car payment, and probably needs to eat. So I want to know how you guys can explain that $42,000 a year salary is remotely sustainable or in line with cost of living, especially when Dr. Smock makes $198,000 a year, more than I make as a doctor. So now I want to look at the claim that those wage increases will lead to a budget deficit and cost the taxpayers more money. This is where I personally find Dr. Cross to be a little disingenuous and not completely transparent about the district's finances. The school finances are public record. So I'm assuming you guys know, and anyone at home can go look it up themselves. But the reserve is sitting at $43.3 million. That is what is in the savings of 709. That is what is sitting in the bank. And you're going to tell the public that taxes have to go up just to pay the teachers a cost of living salary? So why? That's my question. Why would the taxes have to go up when we have that kind of reserve sitting? And I genuinely want an answer to this, because I'm going to read this from the agenda you gave me. That communication, 709, engages in meaningful two-way communication. If you guys are wondering why the teachers don't want to engage with you, I think that you could probably just start with how none of you seem to really want to hear about what I had to say about the financial hardship we're putting them through. And went to cut me off as quickly as possible so that it's not a public thing that we talk about. So maybe start there. The second thing is I've suggested you to all multiple times that you should be participating in community forums. So if you're actually looking for something to do instead of a second meeting, might I suggest a community forum, as I have all year, where you'd actually participate in communication with not only teachers but the rest of the community. So as anyone who works with kids or has kids knows, they are always watching, they're listening, and they're learning from the adults around them. This board may recall, but the Boy Scouts of America attended a board meeting a couple weeks ago. A parent of one of those students shared an interaction they had after that meeting with me, and I thought it was important for the board to hear. Their son asked if the board was allowed to pray before a meeting, and that parent had to rightfully explain that actually no, it's against the law. He then asked, well, aren't these the people that make the rules we're supposed to follow? Why do we have to obey their rules when they don't even listen to the law themselves? And you know what? He makes a really good point. You have already been warned by several state agencies that you're breaking the law when you pray before the meetings, and yet you're continuing to flagrantly and publicly break the law. So what kind of message is that sending to our youth when the lawmakers aren't following the law themselves? As another example, I sent an email 8 weeks ago asking this board to reconsider their public speaking policy because it also breaks the law. It violates the American for Disabilities Act, and it does not allow for proxies for our stationed military members overseas. Both of these are against the law. Not only against the law, but demonstrates a serious lack of compassion, in my opinion. Those of us at home cannot see the audience in this room, but several meetings have had students with disabilities or proxies with disabilities, and we've had to sit here and watch how much they struggle, getting up often to go collect themselves because they have to wait 2 hours to get up here and speak. It seems cruel and without any good reason I can see. So I emailed you, and none of you replied. So I sent a follow-up email 3 weeks later, and Dr. Samak said, you're pleased with the policy and you're not going to change it, so breaking another law. Several months ago, we violated the FERPA, another federal law. 2 years ago, we violated Title IX, another federal law. And tonight, there's a significant chance this board is going to break another law by retaliating against a community member and student parent whose only crime has been to disagree with you publicly.
30 seconds.
So on behalf of that very astute Boy Scout student, I'm here asking for him and all the other astute students watching, why should they be expected to follow the rules you make when you aren't following the rules the United States government makes? I'm actually going to wait for an answer on this because two-way communication is what you say you need to participate in. That's your goal. And I have yet to see a single case of two-way communication from you guys in the year I've been coming to these meetings. So please answer, what do I tell that student when he asks why you're allowed to break the law but he's not?
Thank you, Dr. Fischer. Our next speaker